Hi, everybody. So glad that you can join us tonight. It's a snowy night here. I hope it's snowy with you all and that you had a good day today and got home safely if you had to be out and about. My name is Joan Pugh. I'm with First Financial Federal Credit Union. We're the credit union for Baltimore County Public Schools and Carroll County Public Schools, about 100 different groups. And newly, the Maryland SPCA, who is joining us tonight to talk about our pets. And so it's going to be a great evening tonight. I'm going to put up our PowerPoint in just a minute and introduce our guests, but I am going to ask a couple of housekeeping things. Let me go ahead and I'll start sharing this screen. And we'll put that up here first. All righty. So let me know if you are not seeing that. Are we seeing that, Maria and Katie?
I can see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay. So again, I want to welcome everyone to First Financial's Wellness First Wednesdays. This is an effort that we are undertaking with a lot of fun, and we're really enjoying it. And we're just so glad that you're here with us today. So tonight is Ask the Experts Questions About Your Pets, presented by the Maryland SPCA and moderated by yours truly. So I want to introduce you to our guests. I want to welcome Katie Flory. She's the Community Relations Director of the Maryland SPCA. She's been with the SPCA for 15 years, training thousands of volunteers and members of the community. She advocates and analyzes animal welfare legislation and provides educational presentations to local schools, universities, and communities. And I'm going to let her tell you about her pets. So, Katie, welcome.
Thank you, Joan. I'm really, really excited to be here. As you said, yes, I have been with the Maryland SPCA for about 15 years. I have 3 dogs currently right now. One here is with me who has all of a sudden fallen asleep. So let me see if I can get him up here. This is Bowie. Bowie is 2 years old. He's an American Bully. I also have Tugboat Tank Speedman, who is walking around here. He's also an American Bully, and he's 7. And then I have Hank Williams Jr. Fish. Hank is about 13 years old. I did do a DNA test on him, and it came back mini bull terrier, miniature pinscher pug. He is not the friendliest dog, but I've actually had him since he was 4 weeks old. Unfortunately, instead of somebody bringing him to a shelter, somebody decided to throw him away in a dumpster. Somebody else found him in the dumpster and brought him into the shelter at 4 weeks. I was privileged enough to be able to foster him, and then became what we call a foster fail because I couldn't give him back. So he's been with me for a very long time, and I'm super excited to be here tonight and to help answer any questions people may have.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. Appreciate it. Okay, our next guest who's with us tonight is, I'm going to advance the slide. There we go, Maria Montgomery. She is the lead training and behavior consultant with the Maryland SPCA. She's worked at the shelter for over 5 years and leads a variety of classes, which I think she's going to share some of those with us, and is now doing some of that stuff online like we are. So I'm really interested to hear about that. And Maria, if you can share information about your dog, your pet.
Well, thank you, Joan. So right behind me is Carly. She's 14 and a half years old. And we just did a wisdom panel on her. So hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so, we'll figure out what she's made of. We jokingly call her a West Virginian wolfhound because she's got a wolfhoundy look and she came from a West Virginia rescue. So she's going to be joining us. She's pretty famous for turning her back to the camera. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as our training program at the Maryland SPCA, we really had to pivot really hard back in March and April. And so we have a lot of online classes right now. That's the only way we're training. And we're getting ready to launch an on-demand version of our basics class, which is All-Star Basics. And there's a really nice promotion about that that we can talk about later in your presentation.
That's great. Thank you very much. So I did want to mention, we're going to stop sharing the screen in just 1 second because we're going to allow and ask Maria and Katie to share a little bit about the Maryland SPCA. But just for a couple of housekeeping items that I would like to share with our participants, these are great resources. We want you to ask questions. So really one of the best ways to do that, the way we're going to ask you to do that is by writing them in the chat. So we're going to just keep this long list of questions that people have and ask the experts in just a minute. We appreciate you keeping muted and your video off. And again, thanks so much for being with us. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask both you, Katie and Maria, to tell us just a little bit about the Maryland SPCA.
So I'll go ahead and start. The Maryland SPCA was founded in 1869. William Woodward was our founder. He got together with a group of Baltimoreans to put together a group that really wanted to help workhorses. Back when we didn't have cars, workhorses really were the main use of transportation and so forth. And he was very concerned about the care of these horses and making sure that they were being cared for properly. Over the years, we have transitioned into taking care of dogs and cats. We do only have dogs and our cats in our shelter. Yearly, we bring in about 3,500 animals to our shelter, and we adopt out about 3,500 animals to our shelter. I think a very important, thing to tell you about us, and something that I think is important for everyone to know, the question that I get quite frequently is, are you a no-kill shelter? And I'm not a huge fan of those words. I think that if we asked everybody in the room right now, what their definition was, we'd get a little bit of a different definition. The true definition of a no-kill shelter is any shelter that's saving over 90% of the animals that come in. And our live release rate, which means how many animals are coming into our shelter versus how many animals leave our shelter, is about 96%, which we can't do much better than that. The other thing I think it's important to know about us, we've probably all seen that commercial on TV with Sarah McLachlan, which is very sad, and you either want to cry or turn the channel, and it's a great commercial. But people always say to me, Katie, I love your commercial. And unfortunately, that's not our commercial. That commercial belongs to an organization called the ASPCA. They are equally fabulous, but many people think that, they're kind of the big corporate office up on the hill telling every other shelter what to do. And that's not the case. All shelters run independently. We all have our own names and our own ways of doing things. We are the Maryland SPCA, and we are located in the Hamden area of Baltimore City. Our mission is to improve the lives of pets and people through humane education, veterinary services, and humane care. We are very, very passionate about helping animals, but we also are passionate about helping people. We know that without people, what is going to happen to the animals? So many of our programs are geared more towards helping people than actually helping pets. Although we do have our adoption services, but we also have a foster program. We do spay and neuter. We work on legislation. We work on humane education, and we work on behavior and training. So that's where I'll actually turn it over to Maria, who is the most amazing trainer. So I definitely want to toot her horn for a second. I've had the privilege of working with her for those 5 years, and I've attended many of her classes. And every time I get to work with Maria, I learn something new. And I think within animal welfare and animal behavior and animals in general, we can learn something new every day. So Maria, do you want to tell us about all the different training and behavior type things that we do?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Katie. Those are really nice things to say, too. So the biggest takeaway with our training program is we are what you would call a force-free training environment, and we're positive. So we don't do anything involving punishing techniques. So we don't use electronic collars or prongs or choke chains. We want the dog to be an equal learner as the person is when they come to training. So when you come to training, it's both of you learning how to communicate with one another. That's like the baseline for what we do. As far as classes are concerned, we have a huge variety, and there's really just 4 of us trainers at the shelter that are putting out all of these products. So it's your basics, like All-Star Canine, which is like your basic classes. And now we're offering that online, and pretty soon we'll be giving you a streaming on-demand version of that. It's on sale now for those of you who want sales. And then, or want to give somebody a Christmas present. We also offer puppy socialization. And when we were visiting in person, it was puppy socializing in our training room. And I really missed that. Reactive rover, that's almost the other end of the spectrum. So you've got the little puppies that you're trying to get them off to a really good start. But then you've got the reactive rover dogs, those dogs who bark, lunge, growl for a variety of reasons. It's not because they're aggressive. There's all kinds of things behind that. And we're just starting a Separation Anxiety 101 webinar, which I think, given the times, is a pretty important class and chunk of education to share with the community around us. The really nice thing about training right now is before we were focusing on the Baltimore and surrounding area, but now with virtual training, the world really is our oyster when it comes to sharing our knowledge with everyone around us.
Yeah, isn't that really true that we're learning things that we never thought we would need to know, and actually finding some upsides of that. That's it's just amazing. So I like that. It's interesting. So our first question has something. It does relate to what you were just speaking about, Maria. The question is, how do you train your dog not to jump up on people when people visit you?
Yeah, that's like the number one question we get, and I don't know if you get that on your end, Katie. So Katie works on the humane side. So I try to eyeball dogs for therapy work to send them over to Katie. But with jumping in particular, when your dog jumps, you generally make eye contact with your dog. You're going to say something to him like down or no or off or something like that. And so in some cases, depending on the size of your dog, you may actually put hands on him and put him down on the ground. So from your dog's perspective, they get eye contact, they get spoken to, and they get touched. So their strategy worked. They got lots of attention. So the return on their investment was good. So as best as you can, try to catch them before the jump and pay them for 4 paws on the floor. So by paying them, it's tossing a treat down on the ground. So the ground is what pays well. And if 4 paws are on the ground, they don't have to be sitting. But if 4 paws are on the ground, that's going to be a better strategy. And walking away from them when they jump up on you, if you can, is as company comes into your home, you can't expect other human beings to do this. So it's a little bit of prep work on your part before company comes. But when company comes, sometimes I'll attach a leash on my dog. Well, not mine, because she's 14 now. She won't jump. But on a jumpy dog, attach a leash and maybe step on the leash as company's coming in and start throwing food on the ground. So that way people coming in your home means food is happening on the ground, and they'll start making that association.
I'll add one more thing to that, and this is something I do in my home because I do have jumpy dogs. I am a huge fan of baby gates.
Yes.
And if you have somebody, like maybe somebody does come that's a surprise, you can always put a baby gate up so that the dog cannot jump on the person and they're jumping to the baby gate, and then doing what Maria said as far as paying them for all 4 on the floor can really, really help with that. The other thing that I recommend is, for lack of better words, setting your dog up. If you know they're going to jump when company comes over, invite somebody you trust and have them help you, have them work. Say, when you come in and maybe the dog does jump on them and it's okay. Doing what Maria said, practice-wise with strangers that will be able to help you with it. It just needs to be somebody who isn't going to tell the dog off or isn't going to touch them, or again, as Maria said, give them the attention, that they want.
That's great. So this is a really good question. So what recommendations do you have for socializing your dog at a time when we can't attend a class with other dogs? My dog goes crazy when he sees other dogs on a walk.
That is the $1,000,000 question right there. It really is. And it's something that we've struggled with, and we've had to get creative in our teaching approach, especially during this time. Because before we would just tell you, well, join a class or join some social environment with your dog. And that is really hard. So a couple things to keep in mind. One is dogs learn by association. So while your dog is lunging and pulling to get to another whatever the target is, it's kind of hard to answer that in this forum, but just be creative with your dog socialization. So if or if your dog has a history of being social, you can put a mask on and go out into the park. So we're out in a nice fresh air public area, and every time your dog looks at another dog, we can bring some treats and we can pay him. So he's making that really good positive association with that. Going on hiking walks in state parks, and if your dog has a dog friend, they can be on long lines and they can be social with one another. Generally, just one dog is all it takes to be social. I'm not sure I answered the question to the full extent. Do you have anything on that, Katie?
So not necessarily on that, but there's something, Maria, that you've mentioned a couple of times. And I look at myself as sort of like your test subject, because I've been through all the classes that Maria offers. And one of the things that I found is helpful, we talked a lot so far about paying the dog and giving them that treat. I look at treats in categories. For example, your milk-bone dog biscuit, is sort of like your microwave dinner. An ice cube, which is my favorite, very, very low value treat, no calories, is a great treat to start off with. But when I'm training and when I am paying it for a behavior, I want to get the home cooked meal of treats. So whether it is cheese or a hot dog, a turkey hot dog that I have microwaved for a couple of minutes, or something really stinky. That's the only time I give them that treat, is when I'm paying them. Again, ice cubes or a milk bone is my I love you treat. And we tend to give our pets more treats simply because they're cute and we love them, which we all want to do. But when you're training, you got to go higher value. And think about it this way. Why would I work for something if I get it for being cute? So just make sure when you're paying forward to that animal, and especially when socializing, that you're really upping the ante on the treat that you're giving them.
Mm-hmm. That is a really, really good point. I want to just piggyback off of that for one split second. So if it's hard for your dog, whatever you're rewarding him should be of higher value. So if it's something really easy, if your dog always sits by the pantry, maybe you could just pet him then or give him the ice cube then. But if he's sitting down and not going after other dogs or other people in a park environment, that's the time to bring out the piece of chicken or the turkey.
That's great. This is leading to a really great discussion about walking. And so we sort of have two different questions about that. One is that we're talking about lunging and pulling. It reminds our participant of training your dog to walk on a lead. So our participant insisted that the dog walk alongside but not in front, leading our participant. Is that the appropriate approach?
So just to make sure I heard it correctly, the person asking the question was like, the dog should always be next to me. Is that what the question
Correct.
was? Okay. So I think you have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of the walk? So if the purpose of the walk is to walk at a heel, is it for you or is it for your dog? And there's no wrong answer. A couple things to keep in mind is dogs, we have like 6 million smell receptors, where the average dog has 100 million smell receptors in their brain. Wow. So they have a need to smell and to explore the world. So if you are meeting those needs, then teaching a dog to walk at a heel, it should be okay because you're meeting the needs in other environments. But dogs really need to go on safari's too. So if you kind of split up the walk into what works for him to relax, kind of like we go on Facebook to relax sometimes, although it hasn't been too relaxing lately. and then we kind of get to work and we do our business. So if we have that same approach with our dog, you may have a more successful walk if you want your dog to walk right next to you. And if you want him right there, then you need to pay and position and pay really well, not like the ice cubes or the milk bones that Katie was talking about. Do you have anything on that, Katie?
No, I agree with everything
Okay.
that you're saying, and I know that's hard for a lot of
It
people,
is.
especially, we live in Baltimore. There are tons of fields, but there's also many city streets where the animal does need to stay next to us. But I absolutely agree with Maria. Dogs need to be able to be dogs. And as long as we're giving them time to be dogs as well as learning to heel, I think it's okay. If you want your dog stuck to you 24/7, I think we have to ask a bigger question in why and how can we make sure that that dog gets the outlets that they need.
So piggybacking off of that, do you have a certain type of leash or collar that you would recommend for maybe a dog that is giving you a drag as opposed to going on a walk?
I'll start with that
Yeah,
one.
go for it.
I'm a big fan of a 6-inch nylon leather leash.
Mhm.
I will tell you, I think everyone in the animal welfare world, no one will disagree with this. We all hate retractable leashes, and if we could get rid of them and throw them away and ban them and never see another one again, we all would. Retractable leashes, first of all, they are unsafe. They're unsafe for your pet. They are unsafe for the community. They are unsafe for everybody involved. And oftentimes we get distracted and our dogs are 20 feet away on that type of leash, or they get stuck around something. They're just not safe. So you really want to go with that 6-foot nylon or leather leash. We also do run into dogs from time to time that like to bite their leash. And if you have a dog that bites your leash and maybe you're saying, well, I'd love to do that, but they chew through my leash all the time. They do make metal leashes that you can purchase that are also 6 foot long, but 6 foot is really the way to go. Some people use 4 foot, but I'm a big fan of the 6 foot leather leash. As far as collars or harnesses, I'm a huge fan of the Freedom harness. I think it is the best made thing ever, especially for a pulling dog. You have the convenience of being able to hook your leash either to the front of the chest or on the back of the dog, and it really stops the animal from pulling, but also from choking. But if you're going to use a harness, I'm still a big fan of making sure they have a collar on with their tags, as well as microchipping on top of that.
Mhm.
Maria, do you want to add into that?
No, you really covered it well, especially the retractables. I completely forgot about that one. So they just are the bane of my existence. But just a 6-foot leash, and if you want, tie a knot in the center so that way you've got measurement. So when you need to bring your dog in closer to you, you can just grab that knot right in the center. Harnesses, as Katie was mentioning, as long as it connects in the front, that's going to be a mechanical adjustment on your dog to not be pulling as much. So mechanically, he's going to be connected to you. The harnesses that clip on the back, they kind of solicit a reflex called the oppositional reflex. So if you pull back, the reflex, there's no thought in that, would propel your dog forward. That's why sled dogs use harnesses with clips in the back, because they're pulling something. They're pulling a sled.
Right.
So.
Well, we have a cat question. Going to switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
We are going to get back to the dogs.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of great questions, and folks on the call, I really
nice.
appreciate that. So our person says, my rescue cat, Nala, has developed a habit of social potty time. It seems that she holds it until she goes in the vicinity of her litter box. She has it all to herself and has a couple of boxes, but, and I need to, I'm sorry, read the rest of this question here. And so it just seems like I think the person is concerned about, the health. It doesn't seem to be healthy while she's gone our participant is gone at work for 10.5 hours. Does that mean that the cat is not using the box? And is that oddly codependent? Is this a troublesome behavior? You could just give us some information about that.
So I can give you a little bit of advice there. Mm-hmm. There's a few things I think that the person should look into. Number one, first thing you need to do is go to the vet. We need to figure out if there is some medical issue going on before we move to a behavior issue. And to be quite honest, anything with potty training or litter box issues or things like that, I am always going to recommend go to the vet first. Maria and I are not veterinarians. Boy, we wish we were, but we're not. So we need to rule out that there is some type of medical issue going on before we can move on to behavior. If there is not some type of medical issue going on and your vet is not concerned about it, and as long as your cat is using the litter box, I don't think you have a problem. You would probably know if the cat was going elsewhere by, the ammonia smell and things like that. You can also get a black light, turn all of your lights off, turn it on, and you can actually see on your carpet in different places, maybe if the cat is using the litter box somewhere else. One of my favorite products ever invented, and I wish I could tell you why it works, but I can't, is called Dr. Elsie's Cat Attract. It comes in a litter form as well as a powder form. And whenever we see animals that, or cats specifically, that have some litter box issues, I do always recommend to start with that product. For some reason, the cat's like, oh, I might go over here in this plant. Oh, nope, no, I'm not. I'm going to head back to my litter box.
Mhm.
So it really does work for a lot of cats. I would recommend trying that. I think that the person already said that they have multiple boxes. You might also want to make sure that you are changing those boxes every single day. Cats are the most amazing creatures. My running joke, and here comes Tug, so he's also here now. My running joke with cats and dogs is cats have staff, dogs have family. So we need to ensure that the cat is happy, and every cat is an individual, just like every person is, with different likes, dislikes, and things like that. You might also want to try a different box. But I would say I can't answer the question for you whether it is unhealthy for her to be holding it, because I think that falls into the medical realm of things, and I don't want to give medical advice that I'm not qualified to give. Maria, do you want to add anything in there?
No, that was really, really good advice. The only thing I would add, I guess, to that is if you think she's holding it, it was the dehydration thing, I guess. And so that would be going to the vet. Once you're cleared from the vet, though, if you go to our website, and we have some really great videos on cat behavior. So take a look there. And we also have a litter box worksheet, if you will, on cat behavior. So.
Yeah, so our participant followed up and said that she's medically fine. She just seems to like company when she's taking care of that. So.
And
Yeah.
you know what? That doesn't surprise me, because cats are unique.
Mhm.
So if she likes to have company when she goes, I don't think there's any problem, with that. As long as your vet feels like, there isn't something going on otherwise.
Yeah.
So we have two more questions along those lines. You recommended a product to encourage the cat to use the litter box. Do you have a product that you recommend to remove that cat urine smell when somebody's not using the box?
I am a big fan of Nature's Miracle. And what I hear a lot of people say is, I cleaned that stain and I used Resolve carpet cleaner. It's not going to work. The problem is you're not getting the pheromones out, and the cat can still smell where they went the first time, and they will continue to go over and over again. So Nature's Miracle is really a great product. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at PetSmart. They might even have it at grocery stores now. But that is really the best product that I am aware of to use.
I love it. I need to get stock in it.
And do you have any, when you would have someone ask you, what's the best way to potty train a puppy? What advice would you give them?
Take your puppy out a lot. That's like the number one thing. And it's frustrating. It really is. So when there's an accident in the home, consider cleaning it up with Nature's Miracle. But before that, if you clean it up with that paper towel, take that paper towel and your puppy outside where you want your puppy to go, and just place it down in the ground there and give them a chance to smell. Remember how we talked earlier that dogs learn the world through their sense of smell. So if they start associating that smell with that space being outdoors, they'll start pairing those two things together, and then cleaning it up with Nature's Miracle inside. So that way that smell isn't paired with your shag rug. So.
I would add just one other thing, and there's a saying that we have at the shelter: crate training is great training.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people that feel that it's inhumane and it's not the right thing to do. And I'm here to tell you, no, it really is the best thing that you can do. We're all sitting in our homes. Crates are their homes. And if they are crate trained, I'm not saying they have to be in their crate, for the rest of their lives, but it is always a safe place for an animal to go. And as long as that crate is not bigger than the puppy can stand up, turn around, and lay down, that will also help to housebreak them, because they will not go in their crate while they're in there. I'm also a big fan of making, Maria mentioned taking them out a lot. Yeah, you really, really need to. But the best times to take them out is whenever you wake up first thing in the morning, take them out. After breakfast, about a half an hour, take them out again. After any heavy playtime, take them out again. After they have a nap, take them out again. After dinner time, again, and right before you go to bed. And, you know, in my home, I go to bed sometimes between 10 and 11. And when my puppies were around, I would also not give them water after 10 p.m. I give it to them first thing in the morning. But if they're drinking water all night, their bladders are going to get fuller. So crate training can help. And there's, again, I think on our website, there's a lot of great resources to help you learn how to crate train your dog. And the other thing I will bring into it, you know, we're living in a really, really difficult time right now. We're having a huge snowstorm. We've had hurricanes. We've had pandemics. And sometimes you might have to leave your home and take your pet with you. And if they are crate trained, there's always a safe place for them to be that you know they will be okay. And if maybe you're a mom or a dad and you're trying to get dinner ready and you've got a puppy under your feet or your kids are having friends over, it's just not a good time. Have a crate. They have a safe place to go where they're not going to scratch your door or eat something that they shouldn't.
Right. And we're hearing in the chat affirmation of what you're saying about how, you know, crates are our pet's home. I have a pet in my life who's not in my home who, when she's had enough loving, she goes in her crate and we all know it's time to leave her be, and it's her safe space. So I agree with you. That's really important to know. Okay, so we have another question. This question from our participant says, when training reinforcing behaviors, would using ignoring a non-response be effective? An example is a request to come, and if there's no response, then turning away from the pet, waiting a minute, and then turning and requesting the behavior again. So I guess I'm reading the questions to say, what's the best way to get the response you're looking for from your pet if you're giving the command and they're not responding?
So that's a really good question. Do you mind if I jump in on this one,
Please
Katie?
do, yes.
So the recall or the come, I think, is the most important skill you can teach your dog. But you have to be the party your dog comes back to. So ignoring, specifically for recall, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. So even when you're mad at your dog, you really need to be as happy and as peppy as you can. And don't use the word come unless you 100% know your dog is going to come. You can clap your hands, you can clap your thighs, but you've got to be, so I just clap my hands and she's coming. She's gonna see, there she goes right there. So, and she's deaf too, so she can't hear me, but she could feel that. There you go, puppies. So you need to always have that in your mind. So there's times when you ignore things. And I would say ignoring behavior that's inappropriate. So jumping would be an inappropriate behavior. Dogs don't know what's good and what's bad, but if they don't comply to a request, that's kind of like their way of either saying, no, I don't feel like it right now, or I'm not understanding what you're saying. And so I always like to go to the, well, if you don't feel like it, then I need to figure out a way to motivate you to feel like it. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, then I need to figure out a way to communicate so you do understand. And that way you're going to be complying. So kind of looking at the glass half full and working with what you like and knowing what you don't have that you've got to work toward. Does that make sense?
It does to me. And you know, when you were starting the thing, I know in my own home, I have a backyard. I have about an acre fenced in, and I let my dogs out in the morning. And then I'm waiting for them to come back, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I go out and I'm in a hurry and I'm trying to get out of the house. And I'm like, come on, dog, let's go. And he stops and he looks at me and he's like, I'm not coming to you. And then I have to rethink about how I'm doing it. And yeah, I could ignore him, but he's still not going to come to me. So, you know, Maria gives the professional way to do it. I'm going to give the Katie style. It's called turn yourself into a fool. Literally, yes, come here, you're so cute. And there he is. And he's like, yep. So, you know, check yourself too if they're not coming before you ignore it. Look at what your body language is saying to them. Look at what your voice is saying to them and switch it up. Because all of a sudden you become the fun one and they're like, whoa, what's mom doing? Or what's dad doing? I want to come and check that out. And then, you know, as Maria said throughout the whole time, pay them, give them a treat, because you want them to think anytime they come, they're going to get a treat. And that's what they want. And that's what we all want, don't we?
And one final thing, as you were talking, Katie, I was thinking about this. Sometimes, especially if you're out in the park you're facing them as you're calling your dog to come in your direction. So you're facing in the opposite direction, the direction of moving away. And what you want to do is turn your body in the direction you want your dog to go. So just think, where your feet are pointed, there your dog will go. So if it means turning your body in the direction you want your dog to go, which would be coming back to you, so you could turn and then kind of look back, kind of clap your legs, and you'll start noticing a shift in their behavior. They won't be moving away like a game of chase. They'll kind of be coming close to you, like, hey, where are they going? I need to follow them.
That's great. I just have to say thank you to you two. I'm learning a lot today. So one of the questions that I had personally, I have a barker, and when we were talking a little bit, just as we were getting to know each other, could you talk a little bit about why dogs bark? And we know how annoying it is, especially when you're trying to work, and ways to maybe discourage or allow that behavior. I'll give you my example. My guy, anytime a squirrel or a car or and I live out in the country, or a leaf goes by, he needs to let us know about it. We always joke that that's his job. He's letting us know about it, but he gets himself really worked up. Do you have any advice for me?
On barking. Do you want me to take that one, Katie?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any barkers?
I have lots of barkers. I need to learn this too. I have biters too.
So a couple things to recognize is that we as human beings instilled barking in dogs by how we bred them, especially the terriers. So we bred barking into a dog, and now we don't want them to bark. So it's kind of like, okay, but what do you want? So barking is a form of communication in dogs. And so some dogs are definitely more chattier than others, just like us humans. Some of us are quieter than other human beings. So I like to use a 3-bark rule on that one. So I've been paying her the whole time so she could be in screen, and now she's like, where's my food? I'm like, I gave it all to you. I don't have anything left. But the 3-bark rule. So the first bark is okay, thank you. So thank you for the warning. And then I'll pay for the quiet after the first bark. After the second bark, it's like enough. And it depends on in the training process if I'm going to pay or not. And then the third one, I'll say stop. And so, thank you, enough, stop. So then, of course, after the third bark, if you've got that incessant barker, you at that point need to redirect them to do something else besides barking. So it's an incompatible behavior. So you've got to figure out, well, what's incompatible for my dog who's barking? In a observant world, you want to catch him before the bark or at that first bark and toss food away or toss a toy away so he stops barking. So you want to stop the behavior from going on and on and on. And that just takes practice. And it just depends on the learner. Is he a barky guy or is he a quiet guy and he's just barking in certain situations?
That's super helpful. And you're right. So it's almost, it's like a toddler tantrum sometimes. Sometimes he just spins himself out to where I just don't even think he's thinking anymore. So that's just frustrating for all of us.
It's a strategy too. So dogs learn what works for them, and they have certain strategies that they have repeated over and over again. So if you have a dog that does any behavior that can be annoying and they've done it over and over, they're so well practiced at that they do it without a whole lot of thought because they've become fluent at it. So kind of like us going to the gym regularly, we get in better shape. We need to get them out of shape of that specific behavior. So think about ways to not let them practice a certain thing like jumping or barking or counter surfing,
So we had an associated question about biting. The question is, how do you handle a dog that bites? Our dog, who we never thought would bite anyone, bit my son's friend in the face. We did not see what happened. We kept him away. We keep him away when anyone, when we have company in the house now. He's extremely social, so he's not happy with that. But we're not sure if there are any other options.
So I'm going to start and then turn
Yeah.
it over to Maria, because Maria is much more the professional in this, but there is one thing that I will say. I think it's very important that you do keep the dog away from company right now until you learn a little bit more, and especially if you didn't see it. The one thing though that we recommend, and I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's a toddler, a baby, an adult, never put your face in another dog's face.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's one of those things where we don't know what dogs are thinking. But if you think about it, if somebody just came right up to you and put their face in your face, that can be threatening. And I'm going to make the face right now, because when we smile, we do this. From a dog's point of view, what I just did is stared him in the eye, bared my teeth. Most likely I'm squealing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grabbing his face to say hello. Everything in that motion to a dog can be very, very threatening. And they can take that in a weird way as like another dog behaving in that way. And they're going to defend themselves. Again, without seeing exactly how it happened, you will never know. But that really should be the first thing that you teach everyone in the family, friends, whoever. They should not ever be putting their face in another dog's face. When you meet a dog, any dog, even your own dogs at home, you should always allow them to sniff your hand, turn your body to the side of them, because being forward can be threatening. Bending over them can be threatening. And we tend to just think because there are dogs that they're going to be okay with every behavior, thinking about how we interact with human beings. And if I turn myself to the side and look away and say hello to Maria, she's going to be thinking this woman is absolutely nuts, because that's not how human beings do it. But dogs don't do it the way that human beings do. So it's up to us to understand that and change our behavior so that we don't put ourselves or that animal in a situation where someone could get hurt. And I will pass it to Maria.
No, that was well said, Katie. Well said. And it's all about their body language. And before it gets to a bite, at 99% of the time, there was a lot of other language that the dog was communicating that we completely missed. And so from our perspective, it's like it came out of nowhere. Well, it rarely comes out of nowhere. The first thing a dog's usually going to do when they want some space or someone's kind of coming into their zone is they're going to do a look away, or they're going to just kind of barely turn away. And we ignore that. And especially now during the holiday season, we see all these holiday cards with people and they've got their dog and they're hugging their dog for this family photo. And you always see the dog kind of leaning away from all of that because it's not something they do. So the look away is their first warning. Lip licking when they're not thirsty, yawning, normal behaviors that are taken out of context, shaking, scratching, those things when they're not experiencing an itch or if they're not wet or something like that. Those are displacement behaviors. They're trying to handle a stressful situation to them. When that doesn't work, it kind of goes up this little ladder of aggression. And you've got like a little lip, you see the little lip kind of come up, or the mouth that was relaxed and open and panting, now it's closed. So everything goes from loosey-goosey relaxed to stiff and tight. And so when that isn't honored, then it goes up the ladder to the next step. And what do you have there? You've got a growl. And so people are really thrown off when a dog growls. They think it's aggressive. They think it's improper. And really, a growl is a phenomenal warning system for a dog to say, stop what you're doing or move back. I don't like fill in the blank. So growls really need to be honored, because if we train the growl out of a dog, the only thing we have left after that is the bite. And the one thing your questioner didn't share, and she doesn't have to, it's okay, is what kind of bite was that? Was that an air snap? Did the bite break skin? Was it just did it bruise? So the pressure of the mouth coming down. So there's a whole bunch of other bits of information involved in the bite besides it just being a bite. So a bite to the face isn't good, but the person's face shouldn't have been close to the dog's face to begin with, if that's indeed what happened. So was that helpful? Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
I love that sound. Yeah.
There's Tug. There's my barker. I also just want to add one other thing. and I see the comment about it being a warning because it was a nip, which is good, but we want to make sure that doesn't happen. The person also mentioned that the dog didn't like it because they were social, so they don't want to be away. There's also some things you can do to keep the dog engaged while you do have company. I'm a big fan of a toy called a Kong, and that is spelled Kong. If you have never heard of it, it looks like a snowman or a 3 kind of tiered toy, and you can put treats in it, you can put peanut butter in it. It can distract your animal for quite a while. So if they're putting the dog away for any number of reasons, whether it's because they're not safe around company, or whether the person just needs a break, using a Kong can be a really, really great distraction. And once the dog has figured it out, sometimes it doesn't last as long as you want, but then you can freeze it. So you can shove it with peanut butter, put it in the freezer, and it'll last even longer. And if you also are looking for something fun, or you have children at home, there are a ton of recipes. You can Google them. They're on Pinterest, where you can use blueberries and yogurt and all sorts of fun things to keep your animal distracted. And that can also help keep the dog entertained and not be so unhappy if they can't be around company.
Those are really good. Really good. Interactive feeders are always really good. One thing to follow up with that I didn't mention earlier is a muzzle, a Baskerville muzzle. So if you want to know that your dog is not going to bite anybody, consider a basket muzzle. And there's a project called the Muzzle Up Project, and you can Google them and find information about them. About how to safely and kindly train your dog to like wearing a muzzle. So having a muzzle on your dog, so that way, if you're caught off guard, your dog's got a muzzle on, that may help.
So I want to make sure we have enough time to share information that we have at the very end with our participants, but this question is too important to miss. Do you have at the Maryland SPCA any volunteer opportunities? And if so, do you have specific skill sets that you're looking for people who are choosing to volunteer?
So that's a 2-part answer. The first part I will give you on non-COVID times. Yes, we need volunteers all the time. We do love specific skill sets, and we have a great volunteer team. And I also see that comment, and I will repeat that. We have a great volunteer team that will help to match up what that volunteer's interests are, what their skill sets are, and the help that we need. We do have volunteers that we call cat cuddlers that will socialize with our adult cats, and they will show them to potential adopters. We have dog deputies that do the same with our dogs and also walk them on the property. We have nursery nannies that work with our kittens and puppies, but we also have volunteers that help in surgery, at the front desk, at events, you name it, we need the help with it. Right now, we're not open to the public because of COVID, and we're doing everything virtually that we can. We don't necessarily have a ton in the normal type of volunteer roles, but what I will say that we need, whether it is COVID time or non-COVID time, is foster parents. Yeah. And foster parents are one of the most, if not the most important volunteer role that we have at our shelter. We have hundreds of foster parents that take in animals that we get in through the shelter, whether it's because these animals are too young, whether they are sick, whether we need to learn more information about them, or we're in COVID time, we're close to the public, and we can't have as many animals in the shelter. It's also a great way for foster parents that maybe don't think, or people that don't think that they can have an animal full time, to be able to have an animal for a while, and they can help to get that animal adopted, or they can bring it back to the shelter and then we'll get it adopted. We also do provide all the supplies needed for fostering. No, we unfortunately will not be able to buy you, the 10-foot cat tree if you're fostering a cat, but we will help you with litter and food, and you receive an emergency phone number in case something's going on and you need support. We do ask that you usually bring the animal back every couple of weeks for medical checkups if that's needed, but we also have an amazing foster team that will be able to help with that as well. And if you're interested in learning more about our volunteer program, you can simply go to our website, which is www.mdspca.org. You can go to the foster page, learn more about it, email the foster team, and learn how to get trained to become a foster parent. Now, I saw a question pop up. Could I repeat the name of the cat product I was talking about? Yes, it is called Dr. Elsie's cat attract. And if you Google it, you will be able to, again, I think you can get it on Amazon. It's in a number of different stores, and it comes again in a litter form as well as a powder that you can sprinkle over top of the litter. I think it also comes in a kitten form and an adult form.
Okay, I'm writing that in the chat too. Dr. Elsie's Cat Attract. We have a more specific question, and our participant who asked the question about about their particular cat, I'm going to ask if you don't mind to put an email or a way that we can contact you so we can get you in touch specifically with Katie and with Maria to talk about that, because we're about out of time here, and I want to be really respectful of your time, and I appreciate you reaching out. So let me go ahead and share my screen one last time because we have a couple more things to share with you. And there we go. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about was the handout about ways that dogs learn. So maybe Maria, you can speak to this just a little bit about, we can put the email participants in the chat and we will get this to you. Or I know that I went to your website and saw it on there and I read it. I thought it was fantastic. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
It's one of my favorite handouts, How Dogs Learn, because it doesn't even matter what you're trying to teach your dog or what you're trying to teach your dog not to do. But understanding what makes them tick is really helpful. So dogs learn by associations and by consequences. So by associations, that would be your leash. That's a great example of an association. It's just a 6-foot strip of fabric or leather with a little clip on the end. And they have made that association that little strip means I'm going outside. So the moment I pick up my dog's leash off of our coat tree, she's happy, she's excited, she's ready to go outside. So we've made that association. So that's one. A negative association would be the moment you walk into the lobby of your vet clinic, for most dogs, not all dogs, where they're like, oh man, I'm going to get poked and prodded. So they've learned through associations that that's not a pleasant experience. So the more positive associations you make for your dog, the better. It's basically classical conditioning. And then dogs learn by consequences. If I do this, then this happens. So when they start offering behavior without you asking for it, so when they start, say, stopping at the street corner because you've stopped there a bunch of times and you give them a little piece of hot dog, they start making they start putting the consequences together, sorry. So if I do this, then this happens. So that's a consequence for behavior that happened before. There's a lot of thinking that goes on that. Where in the first one, it's about reflexes.
Awesome. So you definitely have lots and lots of resources on your webpage, and we want to definitely steer folks to the webpage. And you can check out the resource library, sign up for online training classes, follow Maryland SPCA on social media channels, all those wonderful things. And again, here is Katie and Maria's contact information. Feel free, and I'm assuming this is right, Katie and Maria, to have folks reach out to you.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There is one thing I just want to mention that we didn't talk about tonight, and I think this is important for everybody on the call and to sort of spread the word. We are all living in a really challenging time right now, and there may be some people that are struggling to feed their pets or to keep their pets. One of the things the Maryland SPCA has done to combat that is we have started our Kibble Connection food pantry. So if you know someone that is struggling to feed their pet, please go to our website. There is a link on there where they can fill out a form to request food assistance. We will have somebody call you directly to find out what your needs are, and we set up pickups Wednesdays and Saturdays where we will put the food out in our parking lot. We maintain all CDC guidelines, masks, and 6 feet apart. But we want to make sure that people have the resources that they need to make sure that pets can stay in homes, and that is a real very important thing to us and to our mission to improve the lives of pets and people.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And I'm assuming that you would take donations for that? If we
absolutely
wanted
would.
to support that?
We are. We have an Amazon wish list. People can make monetary donations. And, I should have said this at the beginning, but we are a nonprofit organization. We rely on donations in order to be able to provide all the services that we do to the community. And we definitely need all the help we can get so that we can help more pets and more people. We also will take, bags of unopened food. Doesn't matter what brand, doesn't matter what size. People always ask me, like, what's the number one thing you need? And I will tell you at this very moment, it is small bite dog food. I usually would say cat food, but we have been given a very generous donation of cat food. So I'm okay on that right now. But small bite dog food is something that we always struggle to get. So if anybody's interested, yes, we'd absolutely take any donation you want to give us.
Well, I just thank you both so much for being with us. Any last words of wisdom that you could share with us, or?
I don't know if it's wisdom, but I want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. We are all so lucky that we have our pets to be with us during this time. Give them extra loves and scratches and a few pets. And if you do have further questions, or interested in getting more involved in our organization, or just want to communicate with Maria and I, please feel free to reach out. And I think the last thing that I want to say is thank you to you all for inviting us to come today. This is such a wonderful partnership, and we are excited that we can be a part of this. And thank you guys for everything you do. Maria, do you want to say something? I'll talk all night.
Yeah. No, I think you covered a lot of it. So I just thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this. I know sometimes it's kind of crazy during these times, and I keep telling my students, we got a lot of lemons, so let's figure out how to make some lemonade out of this. So in that, just when you're struggling with your dog, think about how to make it fun. Once you start making it fun, it won't be such a struggle. So hang in there.
Well, I know I've learned a ton tonight and just had so much fun. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much, Katie. And I look forward to a long, very fruitful partnership. And thank you for the work that you do, because we know wellness has many parts to it, but pets certainly help our wellness. And we just loved having you here tonight. And all our
Absolutely. We hope we
participants,
can do it again.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays, participants. And we're ending our time together. But again, look for our next, you're going to be getting 2 follow-ups. One will be a survey asking about your thoughts about our presentation tonight. Our next presentation will be on January 6th, and we're going to talk about savings and debt reduction. And I have a preview on this presentation, and it is going to be phenomenal. You're going to learn a ton. So I'm going to encourage you to look for that. And thanks again. Have a great evening. Stay safe.